Hi, it's Lippy. I'm a shamanic healer, and today's video is about the 5 things that interrupt or interfere with manifestation. Now, I've actually written an article on this, and that article has 9 aspects that you need to consider when you're trying very hard to manifest and things aren't working out. And I'm going to copy paste that into the comment section below, so you can read that article if you like. But I don't like making extremely long videos, so I have decided to keep this one short and just stick to five things. Number one, energetic binds. Now, what is an energetic bind? An energetic bind, basically, this is a word that I sort of made up, and later on looked up and found that it had a slightly different meaning than what I had in mind. But when I was working with clients, and also when I was working with myself, with my own healing, I often saw in the energy body things that appeared to look like everyday objects, but they were there on the energy level, and they were often interfering with the person manifesting what it is that they really want. And one example of this is when I was with a client who said to me that even after being divorced for almost 10 years, she found that she still hadn't recovered her sexual passion. Like, she said that she was someone who's very passionate, and after her divorce, for some reason, she said, it's been a long time, but I find that I don't have the same passion that I used to for the opposite sex. And I said, okay, let's take a look at this. Let's see why you are facing this problem. And what I found was that her ex, she was unfortunately involved with an abusive man, and he was a malignant narcissist. And her ex had energetically kept projecting onto her. He wanted her to just stay with him, and even if they weren't together, he wanted her loyalty, her energy. So he had energetically projected that onto her over a period of time, and it had manifested in her energy body as an energetic. It was a corset. I know it sounds weird, like corset, and this corset was tightened around her body in a way that was very restrictive. It was like, basically, what does a corset really represent? I mean, if you know a little bit about corsets, you know the history of corsets, and they were worn to make women in Victorian times appear a certain way, their bodies to appear a certain way, but they were also restrictive, and it was in a way sort of imprisoning for women. In fact, many women would faint in public because they were wearing corsets, and they were so tightly bound around the body. And what we did with this client is, of course, we tore up energetically that corset, and she found a big improvement in her dating life, in her love life. After that, I have seen energetic binds even in my own energy body, and one of the things I saw was I found shackles, energetic shackles around my feet, and when I asked where they were coming from, it was some people who, over the years, I'd known them very well over the years, and they were people who didn't want me to move forward for whatever reasons, and they kept projecting that energy onto me, and it manifested energetically as this kind of shackle. And this was the time when I was working very hard to manifest the things that I really wanted to do and to be, and for some strange reason it wasn't working. Now, I know that some of you may think that, well, maybe I wasn't following the manifestation steps properly, but let me just share with you that I've had great success with manifestation in the past. In fact, my story is even there in the new book that's come out from The Secret. I'm sure you've heard of the book called The Secret, and there's a new book that they have launched called How the Secret Changed My Life, and I had such great results manifesting that my story is actually in that book. So I'm not somebody who is new to manifestation. I'm not somebody who is not familiar with the process, but after a while, I found that suddenly there were things that were blocking me that I just didn't understand, and I was applying the process and it wasn't working. And that's when I saw the binds. That's when I saw this kind of energy around me. Now, as I was mentioning earlier, the energetic binds are a word that I came up with because this is what they look like to me. And after I saw these binds and I cleaned them up and found my path getting smoother, I said, hey, you know what, let me research this. Let me look up these binds. Let me see uh, how, is there anyone else out there who's done research on this. And what I found was, indeed, there's this amazing book, which again I'm going to mention down in the comments below, and it's by this woman called Cyndi Dale, and she basically works with the energy body as well. And she's talked about energetic binds in her book, but except in her book they mean something slightly different. They mean some kind of energy that's binding you to another person in an unhealthy way. Yeah, whereas in my terminology, I mean also something that may be binding you to another person in a negative way, but also energetic objects that may stop you from moving forward. Number 2, subconscious rules. Now, I have been studying a little bit of Hawaiian shamanism, and one of the things that Hawaiian shamanism says is that our subconscious works very well with rules. It likes rules, it likes rituals, and it has certain rules about how it believes something to be true. So the first rule is that if your subconscious believes and has already accepted something to be true, and you try to introduce a new belief, you try to introduce something that contradicts what the subconscious already knows to be true, the subconscious will reject it, right? And this is one of the reasons why I find affirmations to be very useful in some cases. But if you try to make an affirmation that something is true when your subconscious doesn't believe it's true, the subconscious is going to throw it right out. So what works when you're trying to work with the subconscious is to understand its logic. And its logic is this: if your subconscious believes something to be true and you introduce something to it that doesn't ring true for it, it will throw it out. But if you can prove to your subconscious that the new belief is logically correct or has logical basis. The logic here means the logic that your subconscious understands, and the subconscious has its own logic. So it's not the logic we talk about generally in the papers. So not the papers. What I meant was the logic that is talked about on an academic level. So this is the logic that your own subconscious has. So let me give you an example. I had one of my beliefs with money was that my subconscious believed that if I made a lot of money, it was not safe for me to make a lot of money. And the reasons for that are too long to get into in this video, but that's what my subconscious believed, right? So when I was initially trying to increase my income, and I was trying to do the visualizations and the affirmations for more money, of course my subconscious was just simply throwing them out, because its belief was like, whoa, this is dangerous, this is not something I want to do, because it's going to put me in danger. So what I had to do finally was to convince my subconscious logically why making a lot of money was not dangerous. Yes, and that happened because, well, when I wasn't making a lot of money, very simply, I went broke, and being broke put me in a lot of danger. And so the subconscious realized that it was illogical, somewhere to not make more money. And therefore I had to point it out to my subconscious that, logically it is actually more dangerous if I don't make more money. And finally it relented, and finally it started to support me. I still have a lot of work to do on that front, but it started to support me to do this. The other rule the subconscious has is that if you're trying to put in a new belief, and you can it can be demonstrated in reality that the new belief is more effective than the old belief, then your subconscious will relent and will change that belief. And here's an example of what I mean. So I will share with you my smoking story. And I used to be a chain smoker at one point of time. I used to smoke 40 cigarettes a day. And I was, of course, desperate to give up. I was really, really concerned for my health and my well-being. But my subconscious, for years had been brainwashed to believe that I enjoyed smoking, that I love smoking. And well, if you love something, why would you give it up? So every time I would try to quit smoking, it was really hard for me because my subconscious believed that I really enjoyed doing this and I loved it so much. So there was no question of giving it up. And luckily, I came across an amazing, amazing method to quit smoking. And again, I love to share all this information with you. So it was a method that I stumbled upon called The Easy Way to Stop Smoking by Alan Carr. And again, I'm going to put that down in the comments below. And hallelujah, I used this method and it's worked wonders for me. It's been 10 years now. And I went from being someone who thought I love smoking and cigarettes were so enjoyable to being someone who can't tolerate tobacco at all. And I can't tolerate it to the extent that people are not allowed to smoke in my house anymore. If they want to smoke, they have to go out onto the terrace or the balcony. I cannot stand next to people who are smoking. I can't tolerate cigarettes in any way, shape or form. And this is from someone who smoked 40 cigarettes a day for 20 years and is now smoke-free for 10 years. So basically, when I used the methodology to quit smoking, I actually took the action to quit even though my subconscious didn't want me to quit, wasn't supporting me quitting. And slowly the subconscious started to see in reality how much happier and healthier I was when I wasn't smoking, and therefore supported me to stop smoking. The other thing that the subconscious will do if you try to introduce a new rule or a new belief which the subconscious doesn't believe to be true, is it will follow the new rule or the new belief provided the new rule or the new belief is more useful. So here's another example. If you've always, this is a horrible example, but just for the sake of an example, if you are someone who's always thrown tantrums and seen that it works because it helps you get your way, and then something happens and you find that it's not useful to throw tantrums anymore, your subconscious will take in a new belief that is, don't throw tantrums to get your way, use some other way, because it's seen in reality that it's not useful to do this anymore. Number 3, one of the big causes of not being able to manifest what we want is having blockages in our heart chakra or heart area, and also suffering from what we call shamanically heart loss. Now, many of you may be aware already that when you're trying to manifest, the driving force behind manifestation is deep desire. And where does deep desire come from? It comes from the heart. And they say that the energy of the heart is thousands of times more powerful than the energy of the brain. The heart is supposed to be the one, you must have heard of things or sayings like, put your heart into it and put your whole heart into it, because really the heart is a very, very powerful driver of desire and therefore of manifestation. Now, if you have blockages in your heart chakra, or your heart chakra or this energy center is not open, or you have heart loss, which I will explain in a minute, then it will become very, very difficult for you to manifest what you want. Or maybe you would manifest, but it would be very challenging and maybe things wouldn't come to you in the way that you really needed. Now, I'll share my own story here with you again. And the story is that my mom, when she would see me in pain, when she would see that I was suffering, in her well-meaning way, found that Hi, I'm sorry, I'm using somebody's balcony. Just give me a minute. I'm sorry, I asked permission. Is it okay if I'm here?
I'm just moving here.
Oh, lovely. All right. Thank you so much. I asked permission before and then I didn't realize. So,
No, I just
yeah.
moved today.
Thank you so much. I'll just go back to my video. I'm making a video actually. Yeah. Thanks.
Like a home.
Thank you so much. Okay. Sorry for that interruption. So, my mom, she meant well, but when she would see me crying or suffering about something, she would say to me that we have a saying in Hindi, and I'm going to say it in Hindi, and then I'm going to translate it back for you in English. So she would say, "Beta, बिल्कुल चिंता मत करो, दिल पर पत्थर रख के आगे बढ़ो." And what this means is, she would literally say, like, don't worry, whatever has happened. Just put a stone over your heart and move forward. Just basically, it was a phrase that meant to stonewall your heart. And as a child, of course, you listen to your parents, you listen to your mom. So I listened to that, and I found that I was just completely stonewalling my heart in the process. And I found this out many years later when I started practicing shamanism, and when I went for my training, I realized, when I looked into my heart area and my heart chakra, I realized that they were literally energetic stones blocking this energy center. And not surprisingly, they had blocked me from many things, including romantic relationships and allowing love into my life, because I had literally stonewalled here, following well-meaning advice, but of course that didn't work very well. We also can suffer from something called heart loss. Now, I'm sure you've heard of soul loss, shamanic soul loss, but maybe few of you have heard of heart loss. Now, what is heart loss? Heart loss is, again, when our energetic heart pieces fragment due to trauma or due to emotional injury. And sometimes it can also happen when you have others who have stolen heart pieces from us. Now, this is a whole other video, so we'll get into that later. And again, I must emphasize, when I say heart, I do not mean the physical heart, I mean the energetic heart. And if you have heart loss, you may experience the loss of certain qualities. For example, courage. Courage is supposed to come from the heart. It is a heart centered quality. And how many times have you seen this in yourself, or maybe experienced this with other people, where something happens in your life, something that really, really tears you down, and then after that you say, you know what, I've just lost my courage. I just don't have the same courage that I had anymore. And it's because you really have lost your courage, because of the energetic piece of your heart, that the chamber of your heart that held the courage, has literally fragmented away from you. And without this vital piece, you may find it very difficult to manifest what you need. For example, if manifesting something requires you to have courage or take a leap of faith, you may suddenly find that it's very difficult for you to do that, because, well, you literally have lost a piece of your heart. What we would do shamanically then is to bring back the fragmented pieces to you, integrate them back into your system, so that then you are able to continue or be more functional with whatever it is you want to manifest. Number 4, soul entrapment and soul loss. Now, before I talk about soul loss, I would like to talk to you also about soul entrapment. And what is soul entrapment? It's simply when we have our energy gets caught up in certain events in our life. And of course, usually this tends to be either traumatic events or events that had a very, very powerful impact on us, either negatively or positively, because your soul can even get stuck in positive events because they were so exciting, and you sort of tend to get stuck there. I have an example of this where I love trance music. It's one of my favorite music, and it's very rare to find good trance parties, and I remember a couple of years ago I went to this trance party, and it was just one of those rare, amazing parties, and the energy of that party stayed with me for a while. And when I say a while, I mean like 2-3 years. I think I had a soul piece still at that party, because every time I would think about it, I would just be lost in that memory, lost in that party, and nothing it's not really necessarily a bad thing, but I do feel that it would have been better if my soul piece was back in the present moment. But that was a positive memory kind of soul entrapment. But you also have soul entrapments where your soul piece can get entrapped in negative situations, where you had a very negative situation with a particular person, or you um, you know had a negative situation with a particular incident, and the memory of that can continue to haunt you. And you will know when you have soul entrapment, when a particular memory continues to haunt you, where you can't get this out of your head. It's like it's constantly there. You know that old song by, I think it was Kylie Minogue? Was it Kylie Minogue? I'm not sure. It's like, "Can't Get You Out of My Head." That is a sign of soul entrapment. Now, soul loss, on the other hand, is when you have bits of your essence, energetic soul, that actually fragment when you are traumatized in some way, or you are ill, or you have some kind of experience that impacted you in a very powerful way. And as I had promised earlier, I will be making a separate video on this, because we don't have time to get into all this in one video. But it can, if you have soul loss or soul entrapment, it can again interfere with the manifestation process, because you will find that the peace, the energy that you need to put into that manifestation is not with you at this point of time. Finally, the last item that we are covering in this video, and as I said, if you want to know more about more aspects of what can prevent you from manifesting, then there's an article which is going to be mentioned below, which you can click and read later. But the last and fifth item on my list here is misplaced energy. And when I talk about misplaced energy, I'm referring to the energy that doesn't belong to us, hence the name misplaced energy, and that can land up inside the body when we interact with others. Now, how does this happen? It's very simple. We are constantly exchanging energy with other people. So when we're here on this beautiful planet Earth, we are constantly sharing our experiences with others. So we don't live in isolation, we don't work in isolation. And sometimes you will see that if you have a very negative energy interaction with someone, and I have talked about misplaced energy in another video where I talked about how emotional wounds appear energetically, and I've talked in further detail about this, so you can see that video if you want more details. But basically it happens when we have a negative interaction with someone, or someone is sending us literally what is known as bad vibes, and these bad vibes can get stuck inside the body in the form of misplaced energy. They're not our energy, they don't belong there, and the misplaced energy can range from very subtle to very severe, and if it is very severe, it can make you ill, either with physical or mental illness, and that of course can trip up your manifestation, because one of the things you need for manifestation is to be in a state of happiness, to be in a state of joy, because that pulls in things, that draws things to you. And if you're ill or are depressed, then it's very difficult to maintain a state of joy. And what we would do shamanically with misplaced energy is we would perform something known as an extraction. We would perform an extraction to remove the misplaced energy from inside the body, and therefore clear up this energy blockage. I hope you have enjoyed this video, and please put your comments down in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. I would love to hear if you've experienced any of these blocks yourself. I would love to hear if you have any other blocks that you have experienced that you'd like to share with me. And of course, I welcome your questions. If you have anything more you would like to know about what blocks manifestation, please do write in. Thank you once again, and I have really enjoyed making this video for you. Goodbye and have a beautiful day. Thank you.